Welcome to the free Friday night clinics. The idea behind this, I'll just do a little review. When I started back in April was to offer a chance to learn how to be a better golfer by doing a lot of demonstration, because a lot of really good golfers got really good by watching really good golfers. So they caddied for their the best players at the club. They watched how they how they hit the ball, how they swung, how they held the club, how they conducted themselves, how they chipped, how they putted. So the idea was to try to, since I'm the closest thing you guys are going to get to Tiger Woods, to hit as many shots as I can and try to keep the talking to a minimum. Of course, it hasn't worked out that way because I run off at the mouth, but so at least I'll get a few shots in here. Here's the white flag. So that's anybody here like to hit the ball like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a better golfer than you, all right? So, if you watch what I'm doing, and you can pick up, maybe pick up something just by using your powers of observation. I've learned a lot about golf from the company that I've been club fitting with, Henry Griffiths, and it was owned and operated, and the idea came from PGA golf pros, Randy Henry and Jim Griffiths, and one of their instructors, Jim Maypother, had a good saying. He said, "You can learn a lot by looking. You can learn a lot by looking. So you learn a lot by looking." So, white flag. So those are good. Those are going to hit the fairway. They're pretty long. The other idea was to share with you what I'm working on, because I still play tournament golf. And I got the Northern Ohio Open down in Sylvania on Monday and Tuesday. So I drove down there this morning to play a practice round. And so, what's the difference between good players and everybody else? Well, good players understand that they're going to that the golf is a game of preparation and technique. So I'm going to try to prepare my game to play that course that I played down there. One of the things I've historically done, and I'm a good player. I've won several, significant tournaments. I'm just not pulling this stuff out of a book. I put it to practical application. But one of the ways I try to prepare is to take my driver and just play each hole. So here's the first hole. It's at Sylvania Country Club. It's a short hole. It's a dog leg left. But if you hit a driver down there, you got a wedge left. So there's a big evergreen tree on the left, and there's a sand trap on the right. So I've got to stand on the first tee. They're going to announce my name, Bob Ackerman, West Bloomfield, Michigan, on the tee. So I'll go through my pre-shot routine. And in my mind, I'm playing that hole. And so that's going to go in that fairway bunker. All right. So I do it again. On the tee, West Bloomfield, Michigan, Bob Ackerman, do my pre-shot routine. In my mind, I'm seeing that big evergreen tree on the left and the bunker on the right. in the center of the fairway. So I just drilled it down the middle. I had to get a do-over to do it, but I'll go through all the holes like that. So that's how, you know, I have historically prepared to play tournament golf. And so once I get to the course, I've already played that hole in my mind.
See the whole course in your head?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This morning, you have the whole course in your head.
Yep. Yeah, you know, I've got a good memory, first of all, and second of all, you know, you have to concentrate to play golf. And you know, if you fast forward to after the tournament, it's a 2-round tournament. I'll go through every shot that I played, and then I'll deduct the strokes that I shot. Let's say I shot 72. I'll go through the round and say, well, if I could have just done things a little bit better, you know, if I hadn't have 3-putted there, if I'd have hit the right club there, if I'd have got that easy up and down, what would I have shot? And then it'll maybe take 3 strokes off my score. So I could have shot 60. I should have shot 69, just doing normal stuff, nothing fancy. And then I'll say, well, what would I have shot if I'd have had a hot putter? You know, any makeable putt. You know, if it's inside of 30 feet and it doesn't have a lot of break to it, you know, you can make those putts. And that'll take my score down even more. And I've had several rounds where I've shot in the 50s, you know, in my mind. So I not only can remember every shot that I hit, but I can remember every shot that the guys I was playing with hit. Okay, you know, and so, you know, that's what my dad used to call paying attention. He says, pay attention. So that's what you're doing. You know, you're out there playing golf, and you have to pay attention to what your opponents are doing. You have to pay attention to any change in the weather. You have to pay attention. Dave was, last week we talked about green reading. You know, he can't make his 6-foot putts. You can't see the breaks. You know, so here's your first pro tip of the day. If you couldn't see that break, you probably weren't paying attention. You didn't look carefully enough. You know, God gave you 2 eyeballs. And if you look close enough, if you're paying attention, you ought to be able to see if that ball is going to break to the right or break to the left, or if it's uphill or if it's downhill, or a combination of all 4. Because if you can't read the putt, if you're walking up to that putt and you say, oh, I'm just going to play it straight, well, if it's not a straight putt, you're not going to make it. And so that power of observation, which goes back to the premise of this, you know, if you watch me swing, you know, and you watch the ball fly, you know, that by just sheer osmosis, you could call it, you know, you'll start getting an idea that might help you. So the level of concentration, I gave Letty a lesson last night, you know, she had 1 ball left, you know, and we're working all the lesson on getting divots, because she has a hard time hitting down on the ball like most golfers do. And that last ball, she took about another moment or 2 to bear down a little bit harder, and she took that divot and that ball went way up high, you know. So it's just, I said, you just bore down, you just concentrate just a little bit more. So, which is, most people don't realize the depth of concentration it takes for 1.5 seconds to execute a stroke, or to read a green, or to say, oh, the wind just shifted, a front just came through. So the wind's no longer blowing out of the southwest, it's now blowing out of the north. You know, and little stuff like that is what separates good players from everybody else. And you can become almost too sensitive to that stuff. Sometimes you get too detail-oriented, including me, like reading the greens. I said, don't make a lazy read. And so I did, and I started seeing the breaks, and I was putting better. But then I got so fixated on reading the greens that I forgot to make a good stroke. So it's tough, you know, it's tough to put all that together. So I guess the point of all this stuff is to, you know, you got to concentrate. And then in between shots, if you need to take a mental break, take a mental break. You know, look at the sky, look at the birds, you know, take a drink of water, you know. But when it comes time to do it, man, you gotta, you know, I'm gonna hit it right over that white flag. I'm gonna put a little bit of a fade on it. I'm gonna think sledgehammer. That's what's running through my head, sledgehammer. So sledgehammer. So I hit that little power fade there. So if this was a sledgehammer, it would be heavy. So I'm going to take it back kind of slow. I'm going to kind of move off the ball a little bit. I'm going to use my shoulders to take it back. I'm not going to pick it up with my hands and arms because it's too heavy. You know, I got to engage my shoulders and trunk to do that. And so it goes back kind of slow. It goes back kind of in. Then when I get up here, I come over just a little bit. I hit down on the ball. I hold the face open, my arms come in, and I push just a little bit of that fade spin on it, which is a good shot for a good player. So sledgehammer. But when I close the face, I'll pull it, see? So you can't close the face. One of the most important things that golfers should know that golf is a natural game, okay? You're just hitting a ball with a club. And if you can't feel with your hands the path that club head is traveling on, whether it's in to out or out to in, whether it's down steep on the ball or up too much on the ball, if you can't feel the face of the club, whether it's open when you hit the ball or whether it's closed when you hit the ball, you're not feeling the club face with your hands and the club head. See, if you're thinking about your hips, or you're shifting your weight, or you're fixated on your posture, and you lose the feel for the club head and the club head path and the face angle, you're cooked, okay? You'll never fix whatever might be your problem. And if golfers get too much in to out, or too much out to in, if the face is too closed or too open, or if the angle of approach is too much down or too much up, that's when they play their worst golf. So that those two angles, the path and the face, coming down from the inside, just enough down with just enough squaring of the face, is what it takes to hit that sweet spot every time and control the spin on the ball. So if I cut across the ball, which I'm trying to do, but close the face, I'm going to hit it left. See? So that's the idea behind this sledgehammer swing, that when I come through, I'm taking out, instead of trying to do that coming through, I'm trying to reduce that so I'm more consistent.
So if I have a slice, if I did the sledgehammer, it would minimize the slice and maybe help me hook it?
If you can hit from the inside with a closed face, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. I mean...
Yeah, you can. If you can slice it, you can hook it.
Oh.
You just got to learn how, that's all.
I don't know.
I can
slice, but
yeah,
I can't.
that's a good question, you know. If you're slicing the ball, you don't want to come over it like I'm coming over it. See, I'm trying to turn a draw into a power fade. So, but if I want to hit a draw, I'll just aim right, move the ball back, close the face, but make the same swing. And so then the ball turns over. So if I'm playing a dog leg left and I want to turn it around the corner, I use the same swing, but I just move the ball back. Here's a golf swing. It's an arc. You know, there's an arc laying on the ground there. See the arc?
Yes.
Well, if you move the ball back in the arc, you're going to catch the ball more on the in to out part of the arc. So that's a draw ball position. If you move the ball forward in the arc, when the club's coming back on the inward part of the arc, that's a fade or slice position.